He was not just your cut and dry black and white journalist. He grew up with the players. You know, we grew up with him and he grew up with us.
His wardrobe designer must be an escapee from an insane asylum somewhere.
Not only is he colorful in what he wears, he's just colorful in personality. Now, he's a real celebrity in our sport, and he's earned it, believe me.
Remember, he is the most knowledgeable person in the history of tennis.
He is an historian. He's an ambassador. He's a great writer, great commentator. He is kind of the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John of tennis.
He was an educator. He took a country, so little of which knew about tennis, and he said, no, come on, I'll tell you all about it.
His intrinsic knowledge of the game just gave him a dimension that nobody else had, or still has to this day.
He held the game together. The game held his life together, year after year after year. He helped bring the game alive.
There ought to be a whole wing in his honor at the International Tennis Hall of Fame.
I know they do say clothes make the man, but in this case, I think the man made the clothes.
My name is Arthur Worth Collins, Jr., but everybody calls me Bud.
He's a terrific writer, terrific historian, but most importantly for me, he's a very, very, very dear friend, and I love him very much.
Bud had great empathy. Win or lose, you were okay about talking to him because he would make you feel better.
But as soon as I went over and I knew Bud Collins was going to interview me, and I saw those pants, then my life brightened up.
You know, Bud was the premier historian of the sport. He was the premier writer of the sport, and he was also the leading guy in television.
Of all the announcers that we had, Bud was always, for NBC, the face of tennis.
Tennis had the reputation of being a gentleman's game and the white outfits and even the white ball, and Bud comes along and tried to shake that world a bit with his personality, and it was a game plan for him to say we could be different in tennis too.
He was really a pioneer in that sense. I don't think anybody else could have done it. He was a journalist stepping into the television booth who also was in love with tennis, so it was a pretty good combination. It worked beautifully.
He is the most passionate lover of the sport, but he's been that for 60 years. It didn't just happen. I mean, he always loved to play tennis, to write about tennis, to broadcast tennis, and to be friends of tennis people.
They ought to have a big statue for Bud Collins somewhere. I don't know quite where he would like it to be placed, but tennis owes him that kind of honor because he's done as much for the sport as any single player has. We all should stand and applaud.